Hi, I'm Tom Richardson for Boating Local. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about wireline lures and some of the lures you're going to want to have if you intend to do a lot of wire lining. First up is the venerable parachute jig. This is perhaps the #1 lure among charter boat captains in the Northeast specializing in wire line trolling. And it is #1 for a reason. It does a great job of imitating a variety of prey items of striped bass and bluefish, most notably squid. It has a reverse skirt on it, so when you jig it through the water, the skirt pulses, makes the lure sort of pulsate like a real squid or some sort of bait fish on the bottom. They come in different sizes and different colors. You can get them from 2 ounces to 4 ounces, or that's typically the common size. Obviously, you want to use a heavier jig if you're fishing in deep water, 20 feet plus. Go lighter if the current's not as strong, and if you're fishing in shallower zones. Green and white or chartreuse and white are very good colors, but sometimes the bass for some reason want a darker color, so always have a variety of colors. Have some black ones, some purple is another popular color, but white and chartreuse are generally are two of the most common colors for Northeast waters. And no matter what you do, don't forget to add a long strip of pork rind to your jig, to the jig hook. Get yourself a jar of Uncle Josh pork rind and keep them on your boat, and always add that to the hook of your parachute jig. For some reason, the fluttering action of that pork rind really does make a big difference in getting a striped bass to commit to a strike. Next up, we have, of course, the giant tube lure. This crazy looking thing is an amazing fish catcher. I've seen him I caught some huge bass off Block Island with these things. They look a little strange when you first see them. You say, how in the world is that going to ever attract a fish? But the stripers love them, especially big ones. They obviously imitate an eel, one of the stripers' favorite prey items. They're very effective when fished around rocky areas and kelp beds, places where there's any sort of bottom vegetation where eels like to hide. This one's a real big tube lure, but I've seen them even bigger than this. Another version of the tube lure is the Santini Tube. This is a very popular and very effective lure. It's a little thinner than the previous tube I showed you. It has a spinner blade on the front of it to give it a little flash and a little sound when it spins through the water, and really attracts the attention of the stripers as it moves through the water. You'll notice on the end of the tube lure, I've placed a sea worm. Now, no tube lure should ever be trolled without a sea worm placed on the hook. The theory is that the stripers pick up the vibrations of the tube moving through the water. They come to check it out, and when they smell that real sea worm on the end of the hook, they commit to the strike. So always place a sea worm on the end of your tube lure hook. This one's a fake sea worm, but doesn't come close to being as effective as a real sea worm. So remember, sea worms on the tubes. Now, this monstrosity is called a bunker spoon, and it is very effective when fished in areas where there's lots of adult pogies or herring. In the early season, when the herring are coming out or entering the rivers and then dropping back out, you can fish these around the mouths of rivers and do very well with these. And also in the fall, when herring come in the late fall, when herring start moving in towards the beach areas, a bunker spoon can be very, very effective. You don't need to give the bunker spoon any additional action like you would with a parachute jig. You just want to simply keep the rod in the holder and let the bunker spoon flash and wobble and just do its thing on its own. You can also fish lures, lip swimming plugs on wireline too. This is a man's stretch 25. It'll swim down very, very deep. If you really are fishing deep water and need to get down, say 40, 50 feet, troll one of these and it'll get and you can fish it super deep. It has this big giant lip which lets it get down and then does it and then wobbles around. It's very effective on big bass in deep water. And you can also use wireline to troll traditional plugs like Danny plugs, again, Very, very slow. That's the whole secret to fishing wireline. Keep it really slow. Make sure that lure is within a foot of the bottom if you can get it there. You're going to hang up sometimes, but that's what you got to do when you're wireline trolling if you want to catch the big fish.